Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, October 20th. As was the case yesterday, we have some tropical activity to talk about and some accumulating snow to talk about as well. It's that transitional time of the year where we still have some lingering activity in the Atlantic Basin. At the same time, some cold air outbreaks are making their way from Canada into the northern U.S. and some significant accumulating snow across places like the interior Northwest, northern plains, and even a hint at some accumulating snow all the way down into the southern and central plains later next week. More on that in a minute or two. First of all, Epsilon, now a tropical storm, maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, nearly stationary, moving about 3 miles per hour. It will meander in this region over the next several days. Does not appear to have much of a chance to make it all the way back towards the U.S. East Coast. Meanwhile, we talked about yesterday the possibility that a wave or two may become identified in this part of the Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean Sea, which remains very warm this time of the year, and the Gulf of Mexico. Indeed, there is a system right now not too far east of the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. We'll continue to monitor both of these systems over coming days. Again, right now, Epsilon does not appear it has a chance to make it all the way west to the U.S. East Coast, and this too may not impact the U.S., but we'll have to monitor. There's a chance it could slide up into the Gulf of Mexico, and in which case it could throw some rain along the Gulf of Mexico region. But two systems right now in the Atlantic Basin as we head towards the end of the month of October. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, take a look at this snowfall accumulation map for the next 10 days by last night's operational run of the GFS. Rather significant snow, and already significant snow has fallen across parts of Montana. In fact, Great Falls, Montana had more than 8 inches of snow on Sunday and more than 13 inches over a 2-day period, both of which were October records for the most snow on a single day in October in Great Falls, Montana, and the most snow for a 2-day period in the month of October. So pretty impressive indeed. And that significant snow, it will extend over the next 5 days, let's say, through the northern plains, the upper part of the Midwest, and into the southeastern part of Canada. In fact, some significant snow all the way there, southeastern Canada. This primarily circled region here is over the next 5 days. And look what's possibility here for later next week. We'll have a big cold wave in the center part of the nation next week that looks like it could drop far to the south and far to the east, finally reaching the mid-Atlantic region, the northeastern U.S., probably by the middle of next week. And it could result in some accumulating snow down across the southern and central plains later next week. So again, this area right here is really the next 5 days. And this is the second 5-day period, basically next week we're talking about across the southern and central plains. Well, let's walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomaly forecast maps from the 6E operational run of the GFS. By the way, all these maps available on tropicaltidbits.com. This is as we begin the day here on Tuesday. Milder conditions across the east mid-Atlantic region. This is the time of the year where patchy fog becomes much more prevalent. We have the longer and longer nights, still enough moisture in the air in general for patchy fog and even drizzle to form late at night. Indeed, we have that right now, really from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City and all surrounding areas. Some patchy morning fog and drizzle. Same scenario could repeat late tonight, early tomorrow morning in an overall relatively mild weather pattern for the next few days. Meanwhile, to the north and west, colder than normal air dominates the scene really from the Pacific Northwest all the way into the Great Lakes region. Again, this is the area that has already received some accumulating snow or will do so over the next few days. Now let's move forward. And again, I mentioned earlier, this particular cold air mass will have much difficulty making it into the mid-Atlantic region, into the northeast U.S. In fact, it looks like it'll kind of wait for a reinforcing cold shot to finally make its way into the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. by about the middle part of next week, a week from now. So let's move forward here. Again, continuation of warmer than normal conditions throughout the eastern U.S. and all the way into the southwestern U.S., but quite a break from that pattern to a colder than normal pattern up across Canada and the northern plains. This is by tomorrow, and then very, very cold air for this time of the year. Drops southward from southwestern Canada into the interior northwest. Still warm in the east. This is a Friday morning forecast map. Kind of a split nation with a strong frontal system right in this region right here. Notice this next cold shot is dropping a little bit farther to the south, and that raises the chance for some snow all the way down to the southern and central plains later in the weekend and early part of next week. But take a look at this by Sunday. We have the northern half of the nation pretty cold compared to normal, and the southern half hanging on to some warmer than normal conditions. This is the cold push that eventually works its way into the mid-Atlantic region by the middle part of next week. Here we are now, a week from now, next Tuesday morning. Quite a gradient here, a thermal gradient. This will be a strong frontal system right here with colder than normal air, a pretty widespread shot of colder than normal air to its north and west, still hanging on with warmer than normal conditions in the southeast mid-Atlantic region along the New England coastline. This potential strong frontal system with a tight thermal gradient is liable to become a heavy rain event for parts of the eastern U.S., maybe the central U.S. as well. Quite a transition here with this frontal system passing from the northwest to the southeast. And again, this could become a major rain event during the early and middle part of next week. Let's move forward here, and we'll see that it takes a reinforcing shot from Canada to make it all the way finally into the mid-Atlantic region by about the middle part of next week, the latter part of next week. So it stays warmer than normal in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, right through the weekend and into the early part of next week. By the middle and latter part of next week, we finally get into some of this colder than normal air, and maybe preceded by a significant rain event. Well, let's now wrap up with the forecast maps, the surface forecast maps from the 6E GFS. Frontal system right here producing some showers, and we mentioned this yesterday that this front tends to just dissipate by the time it makes it over the Appalachian Mountains. Again, some patchy drizzle and fog early today along the I-95 corridor region will give way to some sunshine this afternoon. Quite warm, high temperatures in the urban areas certainly, and even in the suburbs, well up in the 70s this afternoon along the I-95 corridor region. Let's move forward. That frontal system falls apart. Another weak front here moves into much of the same area by tomorrow morning. That too falls apart by the time it reaches the Appalachian Mountains. And then we move into the latter part of the week, and here we have quite a cold push by Friday, dropping into the southern, all the way down into the southern plains and central plains, and certainly the northern plains will be quite a bit colder than normal. Another frontal system cutting across the Midwest by the end of the work week. We start to see a little bit of a sign here of epsilon, and again, that has a good chance, by the way, of becoming a hurricane over the next few days, but doesn't have a good chance of making it all the way back to the U.S. East Coast, and that's a good thing here. Here we are now by the upcoming weekend, still hanging on to pretty mild conditions in the eastern U.S. But look at this, a 1043 millibar cold Canadian high pressure system, southwestern part of Canada by the early part of the weekend. More snow in areas that have already received some accumulating snow. Montana, for example, Glacier Park, pretty decent chance of shutting down the going to the Sun Road over the next week or two here. Then that air mass does drive a little bit farther to the south and east compared to the current one. That could lead to some snow all the way into the central and southern plains next week. And again, I'm thinking this frontal system here by the early and middle part of next week could very well turn into a significant rain event, some snow and ice on the backside of it, all the way down into the southern plains. Again, we're talking a week from now, let's say next Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. This frontal system, again, could turn into a significant rain event for much of the eastern third of the nation, And then finally, that front moves on by here by the middle part of next week, and the colder than normal air makes it into the mid-Atlantic region of the northeast U.S. probably maybe Wednesday night, Thursday time frame of next week. At that time, we'll have another tropical system to monitor as it nears the Yucatan Peninsula region. Again, Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, the southwestern Atlantic are areas that we monitor most closely this time of the year, as tropical activity can tend to linger into the month of November with still warm waters over that part of the Atlantic basin. But by this time, some colder air finally pushes into the mid-Atlantic and northeastern part of the nation after a mild stretch for the next several days. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.